Okay, so again, it is May 16th. We are in week 7, flying by. What we are going to talk about today is creating a custom post feed with featured images in WordPress. Yay! And at the end of this week, then creating your static homepage with multiple loops for your site will be due at the end of this week. So why don't we open up that assignment? And again, what I'm going to be wanting you to do is 170. So if we view the demo here, what we talked about this past week was to make our homepage use the file front-page.php. Please, if you will, I noticed when I was checking grades earlier today, I got about halfway through grading the assignment due the week before. When you guys are breaking things into your template pages, please do make sure that you are tagging those pages like this. It will help you know what template file is being used where in the WordPress site. That was my bright idea when I was learning WordPress a bazillion years ago, of how to know what template file was being used when I was in a set of pages. So if I go to my code view, and I'll open up the WordPress Spring 16, I should actually go to the Spring 16 version here.
Do you know the Wi-Fi password off the top of your head?
For research.
Capital R.
Yeah. So if you have done 3 postings, 3 dummy postings, you should then have on your home page, it should be pulling front-page.php and then pulling in your 3 latest postings right here. So if we take a look at where that is in the code view, if I open up WP content, themes, Spring 16, and I open up my front-page. Again, don't show me this message again. No, I don't want to. Quit bothering me. And Emmett, you have got to stop bothering me. I don't need you, Emmett. So here then is front-page.php. Again, I have tagged it here just after my main loop. And then what I wanted you guys to do was put a secondary loop in your page. Don't forget to stop loop 1, give the directions to loop 2. And then here is loop 2 that then is pulling in the title of those blog postings and the permalink, or in the anchor tag, the link to said blog posting. So any questions on that so far? And again, we will have on Wednesday of this week, and the Wednesdays coming up, except for week 9, we have the holiday there. We will start having open lab times. I encourage all of you guys that are watching all this at home to come during lab times to get questions answered. Does anybody still need help with GitHub? Right? So There are a couple of people that it seems like they need help with GitHub. Mark and I will happily help you get your code uploaded to GitHub correctly. So yeah, have I made my ploy or my pitch to come to lab? Right? Okay. So what we're going to be doing today then is now that we have done our secondary loop in our home page, which then if we go to the WordPress demo here, on a home page, sometimes you want to have your blog feed like this with what's missing on these right here. What other types of information might be helpful instead of just the title?
Date.
The date, maybe the category, maybe an excerpt that has a little bit more information. And lastly, a thumbnail, right? So it is typical, even though you may have, you could even, I'm not going to change the camera to looking at the whiteboard right now, but even if you had things like this, where it was a latest posting image and maybe a little excerpt here, it doesn't matter how you lay it out, right? The fundamental parts of a typical blog feed scenario would be to have the title that then links to the actual posting, the byline, posted November 19th. Wow, this is already getting that old. 2014, in articles and tutorials. So the date it was posted, possibly the categories it was posted in, so that if I wanted to say, oh, wow, I want to take a look at all the articles that are in the category of articles. So if I hit then that articles category navigation, then you could see that I'm looking at all articles under blog under the home page. And then I am now underneath the blog feed, right? And it's telling me you are in articles and then the name of the page or the name of the category being articles. As well, we would want to have some kind of an excerpt. Okay, so I'm going to show you my what I feel is a really good way to utilize search engine optimization. So how many of you took writing for the web already? Diane, you took writing for the web, Mary. So remember when we were talking about the excerpt kind of metadata type scenario in the writing for the web class, right? I think I've even upped the assignment since you were in it. Here's what I mean. Now everybody had to write a meta description for every single page, right? So what I mean by that is if I then go to this page, or let's say it like this. If I'm in the blog feed, you guys might remember this one right here. To convert your pixel perfect 960 grid website, so on and so forth, right? Well, if we look at the actual posting, that does not match the first paragraph, okay? So what we can do So if I'm on this posting right here, right, looking at the first paragraph, this right here, what function is pulling this content right there? I just said half the answer when I said that. The content function. But what if I wanted to have a special summary, right? Well, in the WordPress world, here in the text editor, don't tell anyone, but it seems the whole world of website content has changed, right? So that's the first paragraph, right? That if we look at the actual posting, it's here, right? But instead of that first paragraph showing up here, or if I'm in my services section and I go to, let's say, web design and development. Oh, it's a different case study. Did I have graphic design, brand strategy? No, I think oh. Let's actually go to this one, search engine optimization. So I want then a very SEO friendly, SEO, I don't really like the term whatever friendly, right? Because it doesn't say, hey, Mike, nice to see you today, right? It's not that kind of friendly, right? What it is using this excerpt field. So if you are, so here's my WordPress Spring 16. If you are logged in to your one that we are doing now, you will notice this. If you go to your postings, there should be an excerpt field down there. Bless you. If you do not see your excerpt field, has anybody at this point in time seen missing things in their dashboard and wondered why they were missing? Anybody? No? Under screen options here, if you open that up, there is this checkbox for excerpt. You check that on, you will now see a box, a form field, if you will, for what we call excerpts. Well, what are excerpts? Excerpts are handcrafted summaries of your content that can be used in your theme. Okay, so this right here really tipped me off to, metadata, search engine optimization, right? Because what we want when we are doing search engine optimization is title tags that represent our content in a very search engine optimized, that's going to sound stupid, but in a very search engine optimized way, meaning what we learned so if I go to this posting, what we learned in the WEB170 class was how you write a title tag matters, right? So therefore, if you are on a page, a regular page, you would want to have the page name, possibly the category it's under, business name, city, state. If you are on a posting, again, you would want to have the posting, business name, city, state. Here's the thing. Why do I not have category after posting on the postings?
That wouldn't necessarily want to be something you put in the title.
Close, because it is here. So here, if I say category, right? What I mean by that specifically there is if I go back to my home page, if I go to services, and then I go to search engine optimization, if I look at the title tag, then search engine optimization under services, Premium Design Works, Seattle, Washington. So what I'm saying is a category would be possibly very good metadata to have under your postings. But here's what I found when I tried to do that originally. This posting is under 2 different categories. Which one wins? The first one, right? So what I felt was, well, I could put a category in there, but it's only going to pull one of them and not the other, right? So I just opted to not do that. Yeah, go ahead.
I had to look away from the millisecond that you did that, go to the top and hover down. How do you get the things to display on your dashboard posts if you have something missing? Because I have excerpts missing. Yeah.
Screen options.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You got it?
Yes. That's, yeah.
Okay. So if we go back here, then on our site's front page, which we haven't gotten to yet, we're going to do the search engine optimization exercise in here later on, but I like giving you the kind of theory about what we're trying to do here. Tagline, business name, city, state, etc. And here is the title tag that we're going to write in another lecture. When it comes to then the meta description tag, right? This is where I feel like has anybody ever used the all-in-one SEO plugin by Yoast at all? Okay, here's a screenshot of it up here. So this plugin right here, right, will give you a title tag that you can write in and a meta description. That is the big chunk of what they do with this plugin. And I look at that and say, well, yeah, but why aren't you using the excerpt field and writing a better title tag hard-coded in there to pull the information you want to, right? Sounds legit, right? In other words, my opinion here, this plugin is not necessary. Just my opinion, okay? Instead, if you want to grab your meta description, this is where I would recommend that you use the excerpt field that you're already using. In other words, why write an excerpt field and then duplicate a meta description in yet another dialog box, right? Doesn't make any sense, okay? So that if we look at then the view page source, let's actually look at the view page source for this one, because this is the one I was talking about. Description. To convert your pixel perfect 960 grid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So that if I typed into the Google machine 960 grid responsive, I'm totally stacking the deck. I know what keywords come up with my postings, right? But typing in something like 960 grid responsive is relatively generic, correct? Okay. So it pulls up this title tag of mine and then uses not the first paragraph of text, but it uses the paragraph of text out of your meta description. So if you don't have a meta description in your websites, the Google machine is going to try to read the first paragraph or part of the first paragraph, or try to find keywords out of your contents in your page to present, instead of using the meta description, okay? If you've been taught any kind of search engine optimization at all, you know that two of the real key components to search engine optimization is using your title tag effectively and using your meta description field tag effectively, correct? Okay. So let's kind of get back to then. So what we're going to do basically is, if I go back to my demo and actually go to the one that I created before the class, and what we want to do is, on our blog feed, right, we want to do the same kind of thing, where we want to use then the title of our posting to then link to the actual posting. We want to have a byline that says posted on the date by the author in the category. We want to have a featured image, because you know as well as I do that if you have an image along with a piece of text, we don't even read the piece of text. We look at the image, right? And then we want to have a nice keyword dense summary that, in other words, if I look at this title and that title I look at and say to myself, you know, I'm not sure if that's the posting for me. Now, I doubt any of you, as you're randomly clicking through websites, sit there and ponder, you know, I'm not really sure if this article is for me. Maybe I'll read some of the summary, right? But you actually do look at the title, you look at the image, and you do look at the summary text to see if that is indeed the correct article. So let's go and put those 4 pieces now into our blog feed. That person is really excited that we're going to do that. That was on video. No. SEO. So what we're going to do then is create a custom post feed with featured images here in WordPress. So many WordPress sites typically use the front page of their sites as their blog feed, right? So if you go to my mikesankula.com, I don't have a spotlight image or, well, let's just say it like this. It does not look like a typical business site, right? Because I don't have anything to advertise. Do I really want to have my children as a spotlight image? Probably not. But what I do want to do then is, how many of you have ever gone to blogs and when you get to the blog feed, you see the title, maybe an image, and then a 1.5 miles long text, right? In other words, they put half of, if not most of the article in the blog feed itself. And you have to scroll down, way past that to even get to the second article. I've noticed that that trend is really dying because people have studied usability and interface design and whatnot. That trend has really died. And in its place then is the appropriate trend of title, byline, thumbnail, and excerpt. So we can then jump from one post to the next and see what we're in for. So this is where I wrote my cover letter for the job. So to do this, we've already probably done this step. But in case you haven't done this step, right? Remember how So here's, I'm in my spring 16, and again, I have, do I need that many tabs open? No, I don't. So we may have done this already, where if we then on our home page, right, have set our home page to pull a static page. So if we go into our dashboard and we go under settings and we go under reading, and instead of your latest posts, right? So if we looked at my blog page here, right? And I'm not going to go and log in and show you behind the dashboard, but this is an example of the reading settings set to your latest posts. Therefore, the home page, what template page does my home page then use here?
Oh, for the static front page. There's dynamics of blog.
So if it's showing the blog feed, what template page is it using? Page. Starts with an I.
Index.
Index, right? Because if we have a static front page, then it's using front dash page.
Yeah.
If we have our site set to your latest posts, it's going to use index.
Yeah.
So now if we have it set to a static page and we then have our static page set to the home page, that is going to use front dash page as our template page. Okay. And what I mean by, Joe, what I mean by template page is this template right here that then we've tagged there. If we then say post page, and we could set it to whichever one we wanted to, but in our case, we needed to do some kind of sample. And how many of you called your sample news feed, blog feed, blog? You could have used news, you could have used something else, but let me just ask you like this. For a long time ago, I thought to myself, the word or the label blog sounded kind of amateurish. Who's with me? Versus news. I've gotten over it because everybody has a blog now, right? And blog does stand for web log, and news and articles and tutorials and other kinds of things can be categorized. Well, do you put articles and tutorials under a feed called news? No, news is a category, just like articles and tutorials are, right? And I'm just speaking for my case only, right? So therefore, I had to kind of warm up to the term blog. Does anybody care about the term blog? Nope, moving on. So in terms of blog then, and that's my, maybe that was my, I don't know, whatever. I thought the term blog was kind of amateur. You thought that too, a little bit? Yeah. And I've just warmed up to it, totally just warmed up to it. So then if I go to blog, right, this is where then currently it's using index.php, which is the right template file, right? So if we then go and in our theme, we open up index.php, right now we have our if have post, while have post, the permalink, the title, posted in the category, get the content. So here's the thing with get the content. Remember where I just kind of railed against blog feeds that have the whole article and then the next one that has the whole article? It kind of defeats the purpose of, right? So if we have this whole article here, it kind of defeats the purpose of linking to that actual article, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Now, what we could have done is, if we go back to, I'm going to try to stay on my lectures a little bit more here, actually, a little bit. I have a tendency to improv a little too much, right, and get off my my lectures. Some of you may or may not have found this function, the read more link or the read more tag. So if I am then in this article, right, and I go to edit the post, I could right here make it a separate paragraph and insert the read more tag and say updates. And if I went and viewed the post is intact. But if I went back to the blog feed itself, it then just presents me with what looks like an excerpt, which what looks like that keyword dense summary. But is it? No, it's just the first paragraph in the article or in the copy. Sometimes the first paragraph in your page you write as a summary, right? So remember when we were in writing for the web and we said, just like in any other newspaper, right, start your article off with a summary or a conclusion, right? Okay, well, if you want to be more accurate and write a more keyword dense summary, I would then say, and this is my point with this, don't do it this way. Because this may or may not be that keyword dense summary. Just like in my other example where I had, shh, don't tell everybody. I don't want that at the top or in my excerpt. So kind of what I'm saying is this whole thing right here, know that I showed it to you, but don't ever use it. Okay? Instead, we can say the excerpt goes here. And let's do it this way. When I am doing some of my and proto sites, and I'm still using lorem ipsum text, what I'll have a tendency to do is, because how you could probably think to yourself, well, if I use lorem ipsum here for the excerpt, how will I know one posting from another? Does that make any sense to anybody? So what I typically do is, if I'm using lorem ipsum text, I will take the title, put it there, and then grab some more lorem ipsum text and put it there and say update. So now what we want to do is customize our blog feed loop, just like I gave you the background when we first started today, where we want to use the title, the byline, the thumbnail, and the excerpt. Let's start with the excerpt. So instead of then in our loop, right, where we have the content, if we replace that with the excerpt then, index.php, and we go to our blog now, here's what's happened. We have placed an excerpt in the first one, okay? So it's pulling the custom text or the specific text that we put in that excerpt field. What's it doing with the others?
Just using the first couple lines.
Right.
Lines at the beginning.
Whatever it finds at the beginning. So if it doesn't find an excerpt populated into that field, it is going to find the first paragraph and give you a certain number of characters out of that first paragraph. Okay? Where you can also, so here's what I did in this one that I did the work on. Permalink. There it is. I also used a PHP function. So I used get the excerpt. So there are, again, remember how we discussed that there are two versions of those functions, get whatever, and then the whatever. And if you use the one that says get, you're going to have to use an echo statement, right? For the reasons that we discussed last couple weeks ago, maybe. So here then, if I wanted to use the excerpt field, but cut it to 150 characters, I could use just a regular PHP function called substring that basically cuts it off at 150 characters, right? But for what we're going to do, then I just want to grab the regular excerpt. So now that I put the excerpt function in there, what do I need to do? Well, let's say, what about this one and that one?
Change the title.
My sit dog one.
Is the title of the first
Yeah.
line in the excerpt so you can.
So I'm going to do the same thing, just so I know that, in other words, file management. So let's grab the title of that one, put it to start out with. And in this case, I am actually going to go to my examples folder and find my lorem ipsum text. Has anybody been using this lorem ipsum text out of my examples folder? Good.
I made my own.
Good.
But I didn't
Yeah, this is a real easy way, because if you go to a lot of lorem ipsum websites and you copy the lorem ipsum out of there, it's also going to copy the HTML around it. So I don't expect you guys to write out lorem ipsum by hand, is what I'm saying. That would be just mean, right, Anna? That would be really, really mean.
Yeah.
I'm not above that.
Oh.
I'm not above it.
But you have a conscience.
Right. But, you know, I don't want to send you guys on a snipe hunt either. And update that one. So if then I go back to visit the site and we go to blog, then our second one has the sit dog in it. So let's do the last one. And we'll go this way to grab it. I'm going to say Leo Sinkula here because that's my 1.5-year-old's name. And he's cute, so you should honor him. So we view post. Now, right now, we have not put in, we put in a title tag, a sort of demo title tag for right now. We have not put in the meta description. We'll get to that down the road in the next few lectures, right? But at least now, if we go to our blog feed, this is starting to look much more like a traditional blog feed, if you will. Okay, now, next thing. So again, once we do this, the excerpt function will look for content that is in the excerpt field. Again, see also the search engine optimization one that we just looked at a little bit ago. Now, if we preview our blog page, we should now see a listing of the posting that displays the title, the permalink, and the excerpt functions. Now, apparently, we jumped ahead of ourselves a while ago because why not, right? Where a while ago, we may or may not have, let me ask you guys, how many of you gave categories to your blog feed articles, okay? Let's revisit that if you have not, okay? Because how many of you, when you did your sub-navigation, you used the WP categories over here? Meaning, and again, it wasn't a requirement, but if we look at my sidebar file, this is where if we're not on a set of pages, if we're actually in postings or the blog feed, use the WP list categories function to then grab the categories that we have used and place them here so we can see all articles, all tutorials, etc. Okay. So if you did not then create categories, let's review that. So if we go to edit and we go to our postings, you should see categories over here. If you did not make any categories, what would you typically see here? Does anybody see uncategorized? Or did you see uncategorized? Okay, so that would be the default category that WordPress will give you as uncategorized. I always change it. So, see that, Mark? So over in the right-hand side, then, we could have a list of categories. Over here in the left-hand navigation, under posts, we see that we have a navigation item for categories. It's going to make a new one up. Add new category. Oh. Edit. So now I could give two different categories to any posting, right? So I'll just do that, update, view post, posted in demonstration tutorials. Now I have demonstration show up over here. Okay. So like I said, where we got ahead of ourselves the last time around was maybe you did this, maybe you didn't. So in index.php, this is where I said posted in the category. So this is where typically I'll want my byline to be a little bit smaller. You could use a P tag if you wanted to and give it a class and say that class is a little bit smaller than regular text. I'm fond of using the small tag. Why? I have no idea. I don't know. But just like the strong tag, I find the small tag useful, right? And so I typically, instead of a paragraph tag, use the small tag, and then in my CSS will define it. Okay. So if I go back to my lecture here, the time. Let's jump past it and get down to the category because we were just talking about that. So here's the thing with the category that I can't remember, Anna, was it you that was asking, or maybe Rosie, was it you that was asking about how do I get rid of the list items in there?
Me?
It was somebody over here. Milo? Was that you? It was you? Okay. I just knew I had to go just down the row to find the culprit. But basically, right here, what's happening is if we inspect this, it is then in my small tag giving me a UL and a set of list items. Now, that's fine, right? That's semantically nice because categories are list items, right? So I could do one of two things. If I wanted them to sit all in a row like I have here. So if I went to the category function, so if you're on my lecture and paying attention to my lecture, hopefully you found that I've done a good job at every time I'm talking about one of these bits and pieces of code that then I've given you a link to the function reference, right? And so, excuse me, the arguments that then you can pass through the category function are separator, parents, post ID. If you don't put any arguments into the category function, right? Well, let's see. Let's do a little bit of testing because this has the single quotes there. I don't have any. To do his normal work. And I don't feel bad about that, Milo. I do appreciate you, though. So, sorry, I have a habit of talk. Again, I don't mean to call you out, Phil. I like to talk to my observer, right? And when are you doing your observation, Anna? Are you doing it right now?
You never know.
You never know.
You aren't gonna know.
I'm not going to know. I have to be on good behavior all the time, right?
No,
So-
honestly, no.
So yeah, basically, so under this loop, right? Let's notice this as well. So this loop, if we're on the index, is going to then kick out an H2 and a small tag and get the excerpt for each blog posting it finds to give us a blog feed. So let's see now if I put those in there, what happens. Yep, it's still giving me the list items. So apparently, if you want to have a comma as a separator, right? And then a space, but then no list items. This is the way you do it. So separate multiple categories by comma, right? So it displays links to categories, each category separated by a comma, if more than one. We could also put arrows or bullets or whatever. If we do this, hopefully it's just gonna get rid of the list item tags. See if it does that. There we go. So now it's gotten rid of the list item tags and has just put them in anchor tags separated by commas. That's kind of the one I like to do, right? But again, you guys can do it however you want. Going back to the lecture. So let's say you guys wanted to post the time that it was posted. What function do you think you might want to use for that? Wow.
And you can format it as your heart's desires.
I know. Well, there is the normal PHP time function, right? Where you would use the date function. Okay. This function that we're going to use then the time. So I am going to go back to here and say posted on time. And if we don't give it any parameters, see what it does. Posted on 1:21 a.m.
What the heck were you doing up at that time?
I don't know, because that was while we were in class.
I got the same times.
I
Yeah.
have to set my time to the correct.
Well, that's right. We didn't. Let's see if our time is set correctly.
Greenwich by default.
Dashboard. Settings. General? I don't know. Let's take a look. Time zone. Choose a city. Those don't look like cities. Oh, there we go.
What the heck does UTC even mean?
Universal time something?
I'm gonna say control.
Sure, why not? That sounds great. America. Boise, no. I think we want LA. LA. Date format. Time format. Week starts on Sunday. So now, still at 1:21 a.m. Well, let's say it like this. If we, so we did the category. If we are here. The time function takes similar, if not the identical parameters as the date function for PHP, right? So how many of you have ever used the date function in normal PHP coding? Okay, so if you have ever used the date function, then we look up again PHP date function. We have these parameters: W, Z, W, F, so on and so forth. So the ones I typically use are uppercase F, J, and Y. Sorry, uppercase F, lowercase j, uppercase Y. So F for month, lowercase j, it's lowercase I. Day of the month. And what was the last one? Y, year. So month, day, year. Time. F, J, comma, year. So that hopefully now it'll, instead of the time, because do I really care that I posted it at 1 a.m.? Even though I didn't post it at 1 a.m.? No. We more care about what day it was posted, right? Posted April 19th, 2016 in demonstration and tutorials. So it's starting to look a little bit more like a traditional blog feed. The author. So if you're concerned about who posted it, author, me. So basically, if you have more than one user, more than one person, they are then an author. So this is where, remember when I said, or we said, display name publicly as? Posted on by the author. Oh, I should have made you guess what function would call the author's name. Have you guys now started to realize, oh, this is why so many people use WordPress? Oh, I like it. Me too. So now that I put that in there, and we visit sites and go back to the blog, by Mike Sinkula, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you could make this even a little bit more complex in terms of, let's see what I did for Trends Real Self. See if they're even, yep. So posted by Jaeger Weatherby. So if you want to see all posts by Jaeger Weatherby, they haven't put up a photo of themselves yet. So if we then go to my GitHub, see what I did there. Real Self Trends on single. This is where I used the author posts link function. Okay, so there are, if you go to, let's say, the author, the one good thing that, well, not the one good thing I like about WordPress, one of the many, many, many things I like about WordPress is how their codex, Encyclopedia WordPress, how it's organized. So if we see the author function, it is also going to show us related functions, right? So the one I used here was the author posts link. Get the author posts link. So that one will actually, if you then have a author.php page, right? You can then have an author have their own bio, right? So remember where in the bio I highlighted just a moment ago that said, I am the teacher? You could have that and a, does everybody know about avatars? I've talked about avatars, yes? Okay. How many of you went and got a gravatar? 2 of you. 3 of you?
I tried.
You tried?
I don't know if you see my happy kitten. It's not posted.
I'll look for your happy
I
kitten.
tried it.
Yeah?
I tried to, but for some reason it wasn't showing up.
Yeah. Yes,
Maybe it was
exactly.
because it was an old comment.
Sleeping on the kitten.
I'll take a look. But yeah, so you can then get gravatar, get the author meta ID, so that author number, get the description field, etc. So you can start, then if you have a really big blog with many, many different authors, then you can hot link that author to not only say, well, get all the articles by this author, but then on a single posting, actually go to the author's biographical information as well. So lots and lots of built-in power. But for us, just having this there is all I'm asking for you guys to do. Okay. So if we go back to our lecture here, We have done the excerpt, the time, the author. Do you think the author would be Morris Day? Anybody? Not one of you got that joke?
I got it.
Just wasn't that funny?
I thought Morris Day was in the time.
Yeah,
In the time, yeah, okay.
right. So the author, Morris Day,
And the
and the time.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes my brain is distracted.
I know. I'm gonna go home and cry tonight. The category, the post thumbnail. So we now want to have a featured image. Okay. So in order to have a featured image, let me get my notes here so that I can type along the correct thing. In order to have a featured image, we need to add support for post thumbnails. So here, how many of you may not have been confused by Mike is talking about widgets on his homepage, but then there are these things called widgets in WordPress. And when Mike is talking about widgets on his homepage, he does not mean widgets in WordPress. Just like when he's talking about sidebar.php, that doesn't mean that it's actually the sidebar, right? Okay. One more of those things. Featured image and post thumbnails are the same thing. Why don't they call it add theme support featured image?
Because it's WordPress. It's just like that.
It's probably one of those legacy things that if they were to change the name, it would have blown up the system. That's all my guess is, right? So again, know that widgets aren't always widgets and sidebars aren't always sidebars, and featured images are the same thing as post thumbnails. So what we have to do, or let me show you what we're going to do. So if I then open up my site here, and this is thumbnail image. If I open that one image in a new tab, because you know I'm addicted to opening new tabs, and why stop now? That thumbnail is 220 by 160. If I go to the single posting, this is the same image. Or is it? It's a file created from the same image. So here's what I mean. If I then
This is the large, small.
right, this is the large, small, original thing. So this is where I'm using the original size there, okay? So, because I needed a very, basically, I think when I was doing my thumbnails like this, I was making them 1024 by 768. Let's see. Copy image, copy. Oh, I can't get the dimensions there. Well, let's put it this way. If I go and edit this post, I have used this as my featured image. Okay, so when I upload any image, right, it is then going to if we go to settings, media, It's going to make a thumbnail size image, 220 by 160, a medium size image, max width 300, no max height, so it can be unlimited height. Large size image, max width 800, max height, no max height. So remember when I said when we upload a photo, it'll make 3 images out of it, right? You totally remember that. I know you do. Where did I get these image dimensions from? And why would I use these image dimensions? Starts with a G. There's an R in there. What?
The grid?
The grid. Meaning. You know, I lead them to the answer sometimes. It's a fun game that we play. Guess what's in Mike's head? It's a really fun game. So the 960 grid system is the one that I'm using. So therefore, if I wanted a thumbnail image that went over 3 columns, I would use 220. If I wanted a medium-sized image that went over 4 columns, I would use 300. If I wanted an image that went over the whole content area here, I might use 620. But given the way that my site compresses and expands when it's responsive, I may want to bump the 621 up a little bit larger. But for right now, I'm going to then use as a thumbnail 140. That'll go over 2 columns. For my medium-sized image, I'm going to say 300. And then for my large one, I'm going to say 620. Okay? Mary?
What happens to those image sizes in mobile view?
It depends on how you are setting it up. Meaning, this image right here is the thumbnail size. So when you're looking at it on your phone, it depends on what I'm doing with it, right? So at some point in time, then that could get larger or get bigger. Sorry, get larger or get bigger. Get smaller or get bigger. Here's what I mean by that. The same image, the featured image, if we are on the single posting here, is sitting in the 620 pixel column. But how big is that image? Much bigger than 620 pixels. Because when this happens, we're starting to compress. Oh! So let's do, no. Let's just say it like this. Mine snaps to a 1 column, or it snaps to the mobile version at 800. Okay, so this image has to be 800 or bigger. And then as it is coming down in size, all that's happening is that if I look at this image, and I then am saying image attachment large, image size large. Remember when we talked about the WordPress generated sizes? in the style sheet. This is where, again, what you're going to have to do is, because I've on my single page, my single.php said, so let's take a look on my index.php and then single.php. Let's take a look at the difference. Index is the blog feed where I have said, use the excerpt, permalink to the title, posted on the time in the category, permalink, echo, get the post thumbnail of the posting ID, display it as thumbnail. On my single.php, I then have said, well, I've made my own function here that if I then look into my functions file, this is how you can use your functions file. Instead of writing all that stuff in all the template files, you can use your functions file get featured image with link, where I am saying for the image, get the post thumbnail size large. Okay, so basically then, if we're here, you're basically seeing that compress and expand because the featured image, oh, I know what it is. The article, no, content is 100%, right? So max width 800 pixels, right? Then the image is first and foremost using box sizing, border box. Have you guys learned that CSS property? If you have not learned that CSS property, here's what it does. You know how our CSS box model is really lame because it puts the border and the margin on the outside? And so, and same thing with padding, puts it out of the content area. So if you have this kind of an atmosphere, where you have padding and a border around your image, that makes responsive design really, really irritating when you're trying to say, well, that occupies 220 pixels worth of space inside of a 620 pixel container, so therefore it should be X percentage. If you have the normal box model, you have to calculate the padding and the border as other percentages. Who wants to do that? Right. So instead, if you do box sizing border box, well, there's no drawing of it. It reverses this. It puts padding and border inside. So you don't have to calculate the padding and the borders as percentages anymore. So who's used Bootstrap? If you've used Bootstrap or Foundation, and your model is to go with this box model, just for everything. Since I'm old school, still a little bit, I am using this box model on my images only. Otherwise, I'd have to redo everything I've been doing all these years that I've been building off of, right? So what I would recommend is that you use box sizing border box on your images, at least. Did that make sense to anybody? So that when you are saying, here, and if I inspect that image, so content, image, box sizing, border box, and then if I say image, max width 100%, that'll have the padding and the borders on the inside of that 100% versus the padding and the border on the outside of those. And it's the best thing ever. Thanks for coming. Honor and I will see you soon in the conference room.
Did they come up with that in CSS3?
Yes, I think. So that's not wrong to talk to my observer, is it? No? Okay. I think it's fun having you checking up on me. It's that tenure thing, if anybody doesn't know what's going on. So, so that's what I do with my images, at least. Okay. So what we want to do now then is, how many of you are using the 960 grid in your demo? You are? I just closed the 960 grid thing. It's okay. To entertain Adam, I'm just opening and closing and then reopening tabs. What's the count today? Have you been keeping track? Damn it. So if I then go to my dashboard and go to my settings, media, currently I have these thumbnail sizes and medium size and large size. So instead, I am going to change my dimensions. 140, 300, and 620, just because. Sounds good? 140 by 140. Now, crop thumbnail to exact dimensions. Normally, thumbnails are proportional. So I'm going to crop it to a square. Medium size, look at that, 300. Now I'm going to say 0 because I want to crop it to a width of 300, but I don't want the height of that image to ever throw things off. Meaning, if I said max height 300, it's going to do max height 300 and maybe my image will be really skinny then. Large size, 620, 0. Save changes. Now that I've done that, what about this image that I've already put in here? In other words, if I had previously used this as a thumbnail, it would continuously use the old thumbnail size. If I had previously used this as an old medium or large size image, it would use the old large or medium size image. It was really annoying when I first discovered why isn't that working. It was really, really annoying. So if I go to my media library, or let's go to my plugins, oh, I didn't put in my regenerate thumbnails plugin. Remember how I talked about that at all? Okay. Add new. Regenerate thumbnails. I think this is the one I want, by Viper.
Viper bond, okay.
Yeah, pretty sure. Let's take a look. Yes, by Viper 007. Install now. Activate plugin. Media. If I go to list view now, I can then say regenerate thumbnails for that one. And it's basically then going to take that image again and make new sizes. So if I go to the good old Dreamweaver, because all of you totally love Dreamweaver, all of you, I still like Dreamweaver.
We get it. I will not be swayed.
If I go to remote server, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Alex is okay to do.
Uploads. I know why you guys don't like Dreamweaver. It's bloated, I get it. So now it has made my 100 by 140, or my 140 by 140, my 300, 225, my 620, right? So basically it went and took my old image and made new sizes out of it. All right, so what we want to do now, let's go back to where am I and what am I doing? Here we go. We need to add theme support for post thumbnails because, which I don't know why this is, it's kind of dumb, but if I were to edit one of these postings, you don't see the featured image box. Why? Because WordPress doesn't ship with it out of the box. You got to enable it in your theme. Yeah, same thing with page excerpts. So what we need to do then is add theme supports in our functions file. So if we go to add theme supports, there are a bunch of things that we could add theme support for. I'm not going to go into all of them. Post thumbnails. So I'm going to open up my functions file. And I'm going to say, make me some thumbnails, please. Add Theme supports. And this is where I want to say post underscore. Nope, not underscore, dash. Thumbnails. I'm also going to start commenting out my menus. I have a habit of keeping things relatively organized, meaning I will make a beginning comment and where that ends, and between my things, I put 2 spaces. It's just what I do. Now that I've put that there, and hopefully I've spelled everything correctly. So if I go here now, I should see a box for dum, 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 featured image. So here's what I'm going to do. When I am putting together my prototypes for my clients, well, not anymore because I stopped freelancing. It's weird to tell people I don't have time for them. It's weird, dude. I will do things like use dummy images that I've made. One for featured image and another one for image. I believe, yes, I have one here for featured image. So I am going to save link as, and this is where then, according to how I manage my files in my system, I'm going to put it in my PSD folder. Oh, it's already there. I also have one for a regular image. Let's see. See if I have it in here. Image, featured, image. So this is that regular image one. I'm going to take that, save image as, put it in my folder. So I then, I'm going to go back to my demo here, and I'm going to go to my media library. And I'm going to say add new. And I'm going to select files. And I'm going to say featured and regular image. Now they've been uploaded. So if I go back to my media library, I should see now my regular image and my featured image. As well, if I go to my uploads folder, I refresh, and I go under May, take a look. Image, regular. It is then made my thumbnail size, my medium size, and my large size. It is for my featured image, made my thumbnail, my medium, and my large. So if at any time, just like my graduation one, if at any time I think to myself, you know what? I'm going to make a new theme. My new theme is going to have different sizes. I can put them in there. Or, I'm not going to have you guys do this, but did you know that you're not just limited to thumbnail, medium, and large? Let me show you. Thanks for playing along, Ed. Appreciate it. I needed more sizes when I was doing the real self one. So I found out, because if you're not learning something new on every project, something is wrong. I'd like to think that I know everything, but I'd be lying to myself. You can create custom image sizes. So I did extra large, 1000 by 0, large feed, 700 by 400 with a hard crop mode. Then their guy got into the theme and made some other ones. Okay? So you can use other feed, other sizes, and then you have to call them out here to make sure they show up in your admin, and you can choose them. Okay? But now that I have made these image sizes, and I go back to my posts, if I then say set featured image, and I choose featured image, now my featured image is set as my featured image. And they told two friends who told two friends, and so on and so on and so on. I like jokes from the 70s that nobody else but me gets. You get them probably.
We're the same age.
Okay, good. So I go to my blog and why isn't my what's the thumbnail? Why isn't it there?
They didn't call it to display.
Right. I need then to call the post thumbnail in my index.php. So I'm going to go to index.php, and I am going to put it before the excerpt. And I'm going to say, get the post thumbnail, size, thumbnail. And there it is. But why is it stacked like that?
It's in line with the line above.
Why? Here's what I'm saying. Anytime you have something going on like this, and you can't, why isn't it floating left? I want it to float left. Well, have you told attachment thumbnail, size thumbnail, to float left? No. Do you still love me, Leo? No. Do you like tacos? No. Say yes. Yes. These are conversations I have with my 1.5-year-old. It's fun. So therefore, you will need to go and possibly make selectors, right? So the first thing that I want to do is, again, if I open my style sheet, because I'm using the old box model, but I want this to be responsive at some point in time, right? Oh, look at that. I did say all images, box sizing, border box, max width 100%, height auto. So I did put that in there. Yay. But I did not put, so if I go to my content section here and I have content image, I have padding and a border. Look at that. I have content image featured. So what I basically want to do then is say content image class attachment thumbnail or size thumbnail. Both of them. Float left, margin, top, right, bottom, left. You can use whatever you want to use. See what happened. I make a mistake. Ah, look what I did. I opened up styles. I want to open up style. And it's floated left. But why is that wrapping around it? Well, Mike, because the small tag is an inline tag, not a block level tag, right? I think that's it, isn't it?
CSS is not my strong suit.
Pretty sure.
I'm super well.
Let's see. Do, 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 do.
We've got an extra A.
Yeah, you have small.
You counted to 3, didn't you? You did it correctly. You like Diane, everybody. So I'm going to make it block in 10 pixels after. Yeah. Oh. Why is that happening? Huh? Why is the next title wrapping up? What should we have done?
You showed us last time, the time before that, and I can't remember what it was called.
Here's what I'm saying. We want space between each one of these feeds, right? Currently, if we inspect, we have our content div, and then if we open that, we have H2 small image, P, H2 small, so on and so forth. No, bad. Let's separate, in other words, in our loop, we have start of our loop, the end of our loop, an H2 small, and then stuff that's going to be called. Well, we also want them to be their own objects that we can apply blog feed. What did I put in mine? Let me go back to my notes. Post excerpt, that's what it was. So now, first, overflow hidden, because we want to make sure that it renders all the way around. And maybe a margin bottom, 20 pixels.
Say hidden?
Huh?
Did you say hidden?
So what's happening then is, because we don't have an object, this is floated, our paragraph runs, and then our headline tries to float up next to it because our headline has not been cleared. Well, we don't always want to have to clear our headline. So what we would want to do then is wrap this, that, the image, and that all in its own box. But if we don't say overflow hidden, it is still going to try to wrap up. So let me show you what I mean. So if I comment this out, it's going to give me a box around it, but that box is not necessarily going to render itself around that image, right? Because of the collapsing, the great collapse. Who knows what I'm talking about by the great collapse?
Margins?
No, not collapsing margins.
Isn't that what
seeing the CSS elements collapse and then other ones try to overlap them because it squeezes the first ones up?
This. The parent element collapses. You know how your footer comes and tries to float up next to your stuff?
Mhm.
So you have to clear the float. The method that I typically use is, and this is the last thing we have to do today, is I say overflow auto or hidden. Excuse me. That's what you were busting me on, right? You were correcting me. You weren't asking me. You can just say, no, dipshit.
I thought you knew what you were doing.
Eventually I do. Oh, I know what I'm doing. So now it renders, the thing renders itself all the way around. Okay? So from here, what you're going to want to do is put featured images, the other postings, and lastly, put a link around your thumbnail. How am I going to get it to link to the posting? It's on the screen. You don't have to look anywhere else but besides the screen. Exactly. Because remember, what's happening is, just like we should on our article here, put an ID of post the ID. What it's doing is that should click and go to that posting as well. Lastly, I know I already said this, but it might behoove you to, in your single.php then, fix the category stuff, but up above the content, just like you did here, the post thumbnail, what size?
I was gonna say.
What did I do wrong, Milo?
Aim the cameras up.
Fuck, how long has that been?
I don't know, Marcus.
Couple seconds.
Oh, not long?
I've been trying to keep track of it.
You have been good. That's funny.
Your face when you notice, like,
You just like, what?
couple seconds.
Here it is.
Okay, so getting back over here, the post thumbnail. Large. It's gonna kill me. Getting back to the screen. They said they fixed it. They didn't fix it. Featured image, size large. You should fix these. Let's do that right now. Nobody cares that we're staying after. Who cares? Anybody?
Not really.
Maybe a few of us.
You wanna get dinner.
I'm gonna eat dinner. I'm hungry.
Heck yeah.
Mike,
I'm just the guy that's complaining today.
do you know what the number to the printer is?
See right here?
Yay.
All right. So let's see if we're done. Yeah, look at that. Article, post excerpt, overflow hidden, margin bottom. The permalink, put that in there. The permalink. Customize your single post template. That's extra credit, but you guys should do it anyway. And we're done.
Extra
I thought
credit or
you,
just extra stuff?
Extra, what did I say?
you said extra credit, but you don't do.
No, I don't, not extra credit, extra step.
There you go.
Okay, I was about to be like, you don't.
No, no extra credit. So let's see what the assignment says.
It's just about the front page.
Yeah, I'm not doing any, I didn't say anything about the single page, did I? I don't want to read all that crap. Yeah, I didn't say anything. Add the byline to your single PHP template, and you should add the thing in there, but I'm not going to, whatever. Whatever.